On Tuesday, Washington voters will decide the future of sex education for students statewide when they cast their votes for or against Referendum 90. Emily Goodell talked to her supporters and opponents of the referendum.
Earlier this year, a bill was signed into law requiring public schools to teach comprehensive, age-appropriate sexual education to middle and high school students and social and emotional learning for elementary students. Programs parents can still choose to opt out of.
I take care of teenagers all the time who have been sexually assaulted, who have contracted sexually transmitted infections, or have had an unintended pregnancy. And I know that in communities and states where there's quality, medically accurate, evidence-based sex information, those teens are much more likely to protect themselves from all of those things.
Opponents gathered enough signatures to put the matter on the ballot as Referendum 90.
To be very clear, our group is not an anti-sex ed group or even an abstinence-only group. We do think that we should have common sense sex ed in schools.
But opponents say the problem is taking control away from local school districts. Supporters say while it's true that school districts won't have a choice about whether to teach comprehensive sexual education, they can choose how they teach it. The bill mandates areas a curriculum must cover, including affirmative consent and bystander training. But if their current curriculum meets those standards, no changes are necessary.
When we talk about the idea that school districts could create their own curriculum, that's true, but the curriculum still needs to meet the same comprehensive sex education standards that are set by OSPI. So really, you're kind of left with not much of a choice.
Some of the optional materials listed by OSPI have been criticized as age inappropriate, but OSPI says none of it is required or even recommended, and districts still have the ability to choose what's right for them.
This is not education that promotes sexual activity, certainly not early sexual activity, but it's really education that gives kids the tools, the language, and the information they need so that when they are ready to become sexually active, they understand how to do that in a way that is age appropriate, that's safe, and that keeps themselves healthy.
Opponents are also concerned about a lack of funding. Supporters say the bill will likely have a fiscal impact on local school districts, but how much depends on what they choose to do.
It's so important that we teach kids accurate information so that they go into the world with that fund of knowledge about how to protect themselves and how to make responsible decisions.
Believe it or not, there's a lot of things that we share in terms of a goal with the Approve Our 90 campaign. We just don't necessarily agree with the approach to it.
Emily Goodell, Cap KVU, Local News.